All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. In the last several videos, I've created an array demo that I did both as a console application and as a GUI application. Then I went back to the GUI application and I made it work with a brand new C# library called ArrayBoth. Okay, now what I'd like to do is I would like to give you one more array example and use it with something like what we've been working with before. In other words, like with this one, with the BMI one, the problem is, yes, it can be done, but this isn't the greatest program for instituting arrays, and I want to show you why here. What we're going to use here is an array list, and the reason we're going to use an array list is an array list, as it says there, it's like an array, but whose size is dynamically increased as required. What does that mean? Well, if you look right here, I found this online under geeksforgeeks.org. An array has a fixed size. You can't increase it or decrease it dynamically. So in other words, looking at the program we were just talking about here, if we had 100 people, let's say this was for a health club, and we had 100 people, we could make an array of size 100. But what do we do if we had more people? Well, what if we say that the most people we'll ever have is 10,000? We just know that. All right? Okay, so we make it 10,000. But if we're only using 100, then we're wasting, what, 9,900 storage locations. And that would be kind of dumb, too, when you think about it. All right? We want something that we're going to be able to dynamically grow and shrink. That's the goal here. All right? That's what we want to do. So what I said, we are going to use an array list, which can be increased or decreased dynamically. Now, we've been using the array thing, so we've been using array dot something or whatever. Now there's a system.collection class. Okay? Now, another big thing, arrays can only store one variable type. So in other words, we can have an array of strings, or we can have an array of ints, or we can have an array of doubles, etc. But they have to be the same data type. With an array list, we can store different data types. All right? I'm going to show you a way this can be done. I'm not going to say it's the best way or the worst way. Arrays can be fast. Array lists are slower. Arrays are strongly typed. Array lists are not. All right, arrays cannot accept nulls. Null meaning unknown, array lists can. All right, so let's go in and I'm going to do this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this out. All right, like this. Why am I doing this? I'm going to show you in a moment. I'm going to take this and move it down. And then I'm going to grab this. Whoops. That's the exit right there. And this is the new button we're creating. Let's immediately rename it so there's not any confusion. All right, we're going to call this one BTN Show All. Maybe that's a silly name, but that's the one I'm going to use. So we don't have anything here. Oh, notice we got 2 underscores with a C. That shouldn't be, but we're going to change this to underscore SHOWALL. Show all. All right, that one's fixed. Exit's okay, return's okay. Clear is not okay the way it is. We're going to change that so it says C ampersand LEAR. Oh, hello. C ampersand LEAR. There we go. All right. Now, the other thing I want to do here then is, first of all, I'm going to move this over. So it's about the same. And I want to move these down. Oh, let's see, about there. That looks about right. We can even center it if we want to. That's maybe better. And I'm going to grab these two here. And I'm going to paste them. I guess I'm going to have to make this a little bit bigger here. That doesn't look too bad. Now, one thing I want to do, you don't have to do this, of course. First, let's lock these controls into place, okay? All right, second, the size of this is 1010 by 686. I just believe in a lot of symmetry, so I'm going to take this one and do the same thing. Now, what that means is I'm going to take these, I'm going to unlock them, and I'm just going to try to center them a little bit on the page. Not going to be perfect. I'm eyeballing it. Now they'll be locked again. Okay? Now, I've got here iteration 5, and I want to change that because it's going to be iteration 6. All right, so that one's done. Let's go back to this one and make that iteration 6 also. Stretch that out a bit here. C sharp. All right, so those are done. Now, just because I don't have to do this, but I'm going to do a file, save all. And I just want to see, I haven't made any of my changes yet, but I want to make sure this is my startup project. And I want to make sure that it's going to be the new size. And it looks kind of the way I want it to look. Okay, there's that. Show BMI. Looks good. All right, I'm not doing anything else with that at this exact moment. All right, so let's change these. All right, so where it says please enter height, this is now going to be LBL first name. And I want it to say please enter first name. All right, we'll put a colon after it, just in line with the other ones. All right, and this one will say, please enter last name. All right, and it'll be LBL last name. This will be TXT first name. And this will be TXT last name. All right. Okay, so it's now kind of looking the way I want it to look. All right, I've got calculate, I've got clear, I've got return, I've got exit, and let's change this. We'll make this one the same thing. We'll call it show all. All right. And we've got a BTN show all that's going to be here. We just added it. And we've got this one. Oh, I didn't want to do that yet. So let's get rid of this. All right, and how are we going to get rid of it? Again, we're going to click on it. We're going to go over here to our lightning bolt, and I want to remove this. I didn't want that. I wanted to get rid of that. So let's get rid of it. Okay, that's gone. And now that's gone as well. Why did I want to get rid of that? Because I want to rename it. And I'm going to call this one, because that's a very long name. Let's see, this one is called MNU exit, so this one will be called MNU show all. Let's go back to here, name. All right. There you go. All right, we're not going to put any code in there yet because I want to talk about first what we're going to do. All right, so first of all, we can use our minimum height, our minimum weight, our maximum height, our maximum weight, our minimum optimal weight, our minimum overweight, our minimum obese, plus our 4 constants for underweight, overweight, or I'm sorry, optimal weight, overweight, and obese. Okay, that's all fine. All right. In this input and calculate output, right here, we have to add a couple things. All right. And we can do this in any order we want, but what I think I'm going to do first of all here is I'm going to go in and I'm going to add my new array lists. All right. And let's do those at the top of the program where we've got everything else. So we've got here our program constants. All right. And these underneath here, these will be our global variables. Now for program constants, if you want, you could change this because these constants, these constants that are in here are actually global as well. Okay. All right. So under these variables here, I'm going to create 6 array lists. And we'll call the first one first names, because that's what they are, is they're the first names. Have another one, last names. All right. Next, we're going to have heights and then weights. All right, so we've got those. And then we want array list. We'll call it BMIs equals new array list and array list BMI statuses equals, let me stop this. I'm going to pause for a minute so you don't have to hear that. All right, so that also will equal a new array list. Whoops. There. And let's pretty these up a little bit. Sorry. Equal. All right, so we now have our array lists. Okay, so these are all our first names, all of our last names, all of our heights, all of our weights, all of our BMIs, and all of our BMI statuses. All right. So where we've got this input and calculate output, which I started to do, and I'm going to do it right now, we've got the height string and the weight string. All right, don't worry, we're going to get rid of these errors right now. We'll call this first name str and last name str. So string first name str will be equal to txt first name.text, and string last name str is going to be equal to txt last name.text. All right, so I now have this stuff in here. Let's put a little bit of white space in here. Okay, so we now have the strings for our first name, for our last name. All right, so it says attempt to validate the values in, well, now I can change this to first name, str, last name, str, height str, and weight str. All right, these values must be for first name, cannot be empty. For last name, cannot be empty. For height must be within that range. For weight must be within that range. All right. Now I've got here, if is the data valid? Well, what do we got there for is the data valid? There they are. We got a height string and a weight string. So I've got two choices here. All right. I can either change this, but right now I'm passing in a height and a weight, which isn't bad. So I think what I'll do is I'll change this from what it is right now, from is the data valid. I'm going to change this to if is numeric data valid, which means I'm going to have to change this as well down here. All right, and that'll fix that. But what I also want to do, okay, is I want to, let's move this down. Let's put in a space there. All right, so we're going to change this to if is string data valid. Okay, and I'm going to pass in the first name string and the last name string, as you can see right here. Now it's giving me an error because I haven't written this yet. All right, so don't worry about it. We'll just put that in, and then we will put in this. All right, so again, let's get this fixed. All right, we've got is numeric data valid right here, right here. So I'll put it right up above that. So public bool, okay. Now, just because I don't want there to be an error in there, right now I'm just going to type in return true. All right, and I have to let this know that this is a string and that this is a string. Oops. All right, so notice I have no errors now in my program. Okay, that's good. I mean, again, for lack of better words, that's a start. All right, now notice what we're doing in here. All right, because I want to do a similar type of thing, but not exactly the same thing. I'm going to say string first equals txt first name dot text. Technically, we don't even need to do this. We can just use that value. So string last equals txt last. Oops, that should be, that is last name dot text. And this should be first. Okay. All right. Now, there's really nothing else that we have to do in here. See that? Now, when we output all statistics, here's where this is going to be an issue. All right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make first and last global variables. All right. Do we have to do this? Of course we don't. But I'm going to say string first, string last, like that. Okay. Then here, where I'm doing this, I'm going to say first equals this, and last equals this. Okay? Why? Because now when I call this, and I call output all statistics, okay, I'll want the BMI and the status, okay, but I don't think I'm going to have to add anything else to it. Let's just keep going on. All right? All right. So we have here, let's see, string error message for this, for that. We're going to have to write something similar to this. All right. So we will, let's just steal a bunch of this. All right, we'll have this is success, and we'll have this error message. I'm going to leave the return true in there so we don't get errors. All right. Now, under this validation both, do we have anything in there that's going to handle strings? And I don't know. We've got, is there input? Which I think we're going to be able to use. That sounds good. Oops. Don't need that. Okay, all we want to check here is whether or not it's empty. So that's actually the one that we're going to want to use. So bear with me for just a second here. Steal this. And don't worry, it's going to give me an error, but I'm going to fix it right away. All right. So here it looks like we screwed up. Should be is first name valid, so this should be is last name valid. So that'll be last name str and last name. Now, I haven't done anything yet with these array lists, and you can all see that, I'm sure. All right. Now, we did before is we got all these. Concatenate all error messages. See, again, the problem is with this error message, I'm going to have to make this global as well because I've got it here and I've got it here, but they're two different ones. There's one here and there's another one here. All right. So I'm going to come down where I'm making my global variables. This is a problem that you can run into, just so you're aware of this. And what I mean is you start making everything global. That's not really a good thing to do either, to be honest with you. All right. So I've got this. I don't need that anymore in there for my error message. And I also won't need this anymore for my error message. This should not give me an error once I remove this. Should not. There it is. Okay, good. All right. I'm going to grab these two lines. And I'm going to say right here, error message plus equal input MSG first, which could be empty or could have an error in it, and input MSG last. All right. So now I think I've got, hopefully at least, if error message is not empty, there were one or more errors. That's still going to still be true. Let's try to grab this. Grab everything up to here. Copy. And I'm going to copy it into here. Now, don't worry if I get any errors. So, following errors occurred. Okay, set. So I want to say txt first name is empty. Txt last name is empty. And I want to set this to txt first name. Somehow I lost a curly brace. That fixed that. All right. And I'm also going to have to do this at the bottom. All right. Now, all I've done so far is to go in and try to make sure, for lack of better words, all my stuff was done. What I mean is what I added. Now, we got here a public bool, and I'm sure it's going to say, let's see, not all paths return a value. All right, this thing, this if statement, yeah, I want Okay, I've got here, this has got to be outside of the loop. There we go. That should fix that. I should not now not have any error in here anymore. Good. So let's run it. And all I want to see here is if I leave the first name empty, if it's going to give me an error. Okay, I got to change that, but that's no big thing. First name cannot be empty. Last name cannot be empty. All right, I've got everything in here, so I don't need it where I'm showing those error messages. That's fine. All right, so let's fix that. All right, I don't need these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to comment that out. Maybe I'll find out that I need it later. I don't know. Let's see. When I load, I want to say txt first name dot select. Okay. All right. So that should be doing it when I start now. So let's try this one more time. There it is. If there's nothing in here, well, I've got height, weight. Okay, it's not giving me those, so why not? Okay, what did I comment out here? Okay, I did want to put those here. So I need this, and I need this. I don't think I'm going to need this here now. All right. Now this is going to look a little funky until I remove some of it. We're going to stop. It must be already over 30 minutes, and I am. So we're going to stop in just a couple minutes here. But let's try this. All right. First name, last name cannot be empty. Height cannot be empty. Height must be a valid integer. Weight cannot be empty. Weight must be a valid integer. And I want to make sure I bring that back to here. All right. See, the problem is if I get an error here, I don't know what caused the error. So what I can do is I can uncomment this. It's going to make some errors appear twice. I don't know if that's really a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, you can make almost a joke and say it's better than having it appear twice than not appear at all. So notice how this changes now. I first get this, then I get everything, and then it brings it back to here. All right, that can be fixed very easily. First name, last name. It should have been first name.focus, and it didn't. It's because this one's also running. All right, we're going to say here, we want to run this, but we only want to run this if is success is true. I think this is a good time to stop. I'll fix it up. It's pretty close. And then I'll be able to add the other stuff. I'll come back with that momentarily. Thanks.